Hello, my friend, and welcome to episode 366 of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaeffer, your host. Today we have Mr. Todd Caponi, and he gets into the neuroscience of reviews and selling and transparency, although you can be a little too transparent. He's written a book called The Transparency Sale, How Unexpected Honesty and Understanding the Buying Brain Can Transform Your Results. So you're in for a treat, as always. Last episode, we had Lance Tyson. Make sure you check him out, a fellow sales trainer, author, great guy. We got into a lot of specifics on making the sale, so you are in for a treat there. We've got Deepak Shukla coming up next. He's an SEO guru, and it was great to catch up. I haven't had a really in-depth discussion on SEO, so it was good to see what is still working, what is not, what has changed, and what is coming down the path. So be sure to tune into that. After him, we got Jason Redman. Jason is a repeat guest. He is a Navy SEAL. He was shot 7 times, and he's written a book. He's got another book coming out. Great human being, overcame a lot of adversity. So he is helping me promote my not Tampa Bay, the San Francisco Frogman swim. I'm doing that for the first time in July. I skipped the Tampa Bay Frogman swim this year, but I think next year I'll do both. So I'll be promoting him and driving awareness for the fundraiser for that, for the Navy SEAL Foundation. Then we've got Sarah Worth, John Crowley, Brian Margolis I just interviewed today. Great interview. Super smart guy, wrote a really small book. And it takes a smart person to boil it down. And he did that, so that was great. David Newman I had on today on how to get speaking gigs. So a lot of stuff. I'm actually ramping up production, looking forward in the next 6 weeks or so. And it'll continue probably well into May. But I'm going to be releasing one on Mondays like I always do, and then one on Friday. And the following week we'll do one on Wednesday. So trying to not have too many in the queue, but man, it's I've got even basically ramping up 50%. Still have guests scheduled out 6 weeks or more. So it's a good problem to have. You know what I'm saying? So lots of things still coming your way. So stay tuned. Please subscribe. When you subscribe, it helps the numbers. And as the numbers increase, I get more visibility. More visibility means more people hear about me. They invite me to speak. They contact me for consulting. That's how I make money. It's how I feed my family of 9. 3 of them are in college. So the more you share, give me reviews, subscribe, it helps me grow. It helps me serve more people for free because it helps me land more paying clients. All right. So speaking of that, I've been talking about the 30-day sales growth program. That is back. And I had a little revelation. I'm always working on things as well, working on myself, digging into what works. I hired my own coach for the next 90 days and already digging in, looking at pricing of things. And at least for now, and I'll probably keep it this way, the 30-day sales growth program is just $97. One payment of $97. So check that out. It's already built, and I will be constantly updating it. And so you'll have access to it, because you're a paid member. So check that out, 30-day sales growth. It is great for the motivated salesperson, the entrepreneur, the solopreneur. You're looking for ideas on what works. And I lay out basically the program that I took as a salesperson myself. Signed up for that in 2006, went through it in 2007. Ended up hiring that trainer as my sales coach for $10,000. Ended up becoming a licensee of his, and then I've kept that updated. So the things I teach in there is what I have used to sell millions of dollars of product. Golly, since then I've made it well over $1 million just by flapping my gums, understanding what makes people tick and asking the right questions, getting decision makers to meet with me and give me an answer. It wasn't always yes, but I eliminated the I want to think it overs. And that's what kills us, is the uncertainty. Yes, it's terrible to hear no, but it's nice to know when it's over, you can close the book and move ahead. So check that out. Okay, $97 is the 30-day sales growth. And I haven't done it yet, so I won't share the link, but the Inner Circle is coming. That is going to be a lot more one-on-one with me, or at least not as much one-on-one. You will get some, though, but more access to me. Weekly calls. I'm ramping up the training I've been providing, basically merging in the Make Every Sale program, taking that content and giving past recordings and whatnot in the 30-day sales growth, and then going deeper in the Inner Circle. It's going to cost more, but you're going to get more. So stay tuned for that. I'm putting the finishing touches on that here in the next week or so. So that is the plan for me to help more people. And then, at the end of the show, I'll talk about my private coaching. I take on a handful of clients from time to time as I have the bandwidth, because you get unlimited access to me. And we start at 90 days, and then we take it from there to see how we want or need to work together after that. But it's remote. It's Zoom videos, recordings. And I will work with companies, so that's an option if you need me to come in, work with more people at once. That's obviously an option. I just don't do that as much either because I don't like traveling. But I will do it. I almost said I do it, but then I would have said doo-doo. And if my kids heard this, they'd have said doo-doo as well, and duty, and whatnot. So we don't want to do that, all right? But hey, go sign up for that. 30-day sales growth. If you think that's a fit for you, make sure you subscribe. Now let's bring on Todd. Todd Caponi, all the way from the Chicago area. I know, all these cities, all these suburbs. I just tell them I'm in SoCal, man. Welcome to Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me.
So you just came out with a book, The Transparency Sale, How Unexpected Honesty and Understanding the Buying Brain Can Transform Your Results. Come on, man. Are you getting all that analytical? You one of these like smart people? Because look, I'm in sales, dude, so I don't have to be smart, all right? So you got to keep this simple.
No, I am far from smart. Here's what I'll give you the little story as to what happens if you're so inclined.
Hey, you know what? Hey, look, if it's no good, I'll just delete it. So, go ahead.
There you go. Perfect. So I was, I'll take you back. I was the chief revenue officer of a company called Power Reviews.
Reviews.
Yes. Right. And so Power Reviews, as you can imagine, they help retailers and brands collect and display ratings and reviews on their website. So if you're on Crocs or Vineyard Vines or Jet and you're looking at a product, and then you look over and there's reviews, that was Power Reviews. So here's what happened. We did a study with Northwestern University, and they looked at what consumers, when they look at reviews, what aids in their conversion, like what makes them buy. And what they found rocked my sales world. They found that a consumer is more likely to buy a product that has an average review score of between a 4.2 and a 4.5. So in other words, a 4.2 sells better than a 5. So I started looking into it, trying to figure out, all right, what's going on here? And in so doing, I ended up diving into the world of neuroscience. And so that's where I tried to make myself smart. And I found piles of research and ideas that essentially tell us that transparency actually sells better than perfection. So that we all say, gosh, you know what? I like to be an authentic and honest salesperson, but so many people act as though that's a trade-off. And as it turns out, it actually speeds sales cycles, increases win rates, qualifies deals in faster. The ones you're going to lose, it qualifies out faster, and it makes it really hard on your competitors to position against you. So that's basically where the book all started. And there's a whole world that it came out of it, of ideas and tactics that salespeople can apply and make a big impact on what they're doing right away.
Now you tell me, man. Now I know why I've been struggling. Being perfect is hard. It's hard being me. Do you understand my struggle? Do you know what it's like? I had a guy actually on just recently, last month, through Upwork. right? I hired a guy just to do a little bit of graphic design. And he's in the Philippines. And there's like, I don't know, 5 areas I think that you rate them. And I gave him a 5.0 on everything. And on one, though, I gave him like 4 stars instead of 5. Yeah. Right? So, I mean, still fine. And it was, and I explained, because he lived in a bad area as insofar as infrastructure reliability. He had outages. Unfortunately, I didn't have any fires to put out. You know, I was doing artwork for the podcast. And so we were usually a couple of weeks ahead, but he would vanish sometimes for a couple of days. And he's like, oh, can you please change that? This is my only, non-5-star review. And I said, dude, relax. I'm like, it makes you look more human. I didn't give you a 1. I gave you a 4. And then the reason why, it'll be okay. And he kind of calmed down, but perfection is scary. It's like you see the most beautiful girl in high school. You think, oh, I can never ask her to prom. She probably has 37 dates lined up, and it ends up she has no dates because everybody's afraid to ask her to go to prom. Is it that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, it's essentially, when a website is acting as the salesperson, perfection doesn't sell. And so when you take that to the B2B world, I know me, I've been a 3-time sales leader. I was on the sales leadership team of ExactTarget through their IPO and their sale to Salesforce for $2.5 billion. I know I've been teaching salespeople to sell as though we're perfect. And now what is also changed is, first of all, again, the brain science tells us that imperfect sells better than perfect. But number 2 is we're entering an era where there's this massive proliferation of reviews on everything. Like my kids in the other room, they won't even download a Princess app without looking at the reviews on the iPad. And so those are our future buyers. There's this expectation of transparency, but now it's all around us. So you can no longer hide your flaws and expect to get away with it. And as a matter of fact, when you lead with them, you're going to outsell the competition, 9 times out of 10.
I learned this principle a long time ago. It was I forget the exact phrase, but it's basically accentuate the negative. Like my son, he buys and sells cars. Yeah. And the example is, let's say there's a scratch on the bumper, and what 5-year-old car doesn't have a scratch on the bumper, and so I tell him, lead with that, say, great car, scratch on the bumper, and take pictures of it. And like little bitty scratch. And it started to click for him, right? Because the consumer, when they go, oh, he's worried about that. Like if he's worried about that little scratch on a 5-year-old car, everything else is probably really good. And it would kind of disarm them a little bit. So it's basically, it's that concept.
Exactly. I mean, we're all wired to be resistant to undue influence anyway. I mean, it's why caller ID works. It's why when you see 2 people walking up your driveway with a clipboard, you hide in the basement like the government's coming for your provisions. But it's this idea that as consumers, we're trying to predict what our experience is going to be like. And obviously none of us, if we're wired to resist being influenced, we don't trust perfect. So, if he doesn't point out the scratch, that person's going to spend more time looking for the scratches. And when he leads with it and they say, oh yeah, there's the scratch, now they feel like they don't have to do any more homework because they trust what's coming out of them. And as a result, that's where your sales cycles shrink dramatically and your win rates go up because their need and desire to go do homework beyond the claims of the salesperson go out the window when you lead with trust and transparency.
Now, you're talking about the website, right? Because, I mean, if a salesperson sends me a proposal and the email has typos and there's incorrect stuff on the proposal, their credibility in my mind is shot.
Yep.
So you're not necessarily saying throw slop up there, but don't hide from the 1 out of 100 that gives you a 1-star review.
Oh, exactly. In the tech space, there's companies like G2 Crowd and Trust Radius. G2 Crowd just took a $55 million raise. So obviously there's a lot of momentum around it. Essentially, if you're a seller, you work with your marketing department and go, all right, if I'm a buyer, where am I going to look for flaws? Where am I going to do my homework? As a seller and a marketer, you should go out and figure that out, bring it together, and lead with it. these are the things they're going to find. They're going to find it on their own. Wouldn't you rather control that conversation and lead with it versus them finding it on their own and eroding trust as a part of the process? So, your point about typos, I mean, the book, it was proofread 3 or 4 times. It still has typos in it, and that frustrates the crap out of me. But that's not really what transparency is about. Transparency is about predicting what your experience is going to be like when you make a purchase. And if the seller's helping you do that, trust goes up, and that's how you win.
Yeah. Yeah. I do my best proofreading in the 1.2 nanoseconds after I hit send.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
I read 100,000 words a second at that point. I'm like, oh, right there. I'll send myself an email like 5 times.
It drives me nuts.
Oh.
Yeah. There's no way to avoid that. I had, professional proofreaders go through it. And then when I narrated the audiobook myself, when you're reading it out loud, that's when you see it. So, right. And it just, as I read it, I was like burst into tears. So
I know. At some point you got to just ship it,
Exactly.
So transparency, sometimes I feel like that's an overplayed word nowadays. I see a lot of companies, we're transparent. We're open and honest. We check our egos at the door, and then they're playing games.
Yes.
The analogy I always use is if somebody comes to me and says, you can trust me, I'm a Christian. I'm like, okay, if you got to tell me you're a Christian, I'm locking my wallet in the safe. I'm changing the combination when I'm blindfolded. Only my wife will know. I mean, it's like, okay, it's on now in a bad way.
Yeah.
So do people overplay the transparency card?
100%. There was a guy that worked for me, and his first slide in his presentation was his picture, and underneath it said, proven and trusted. And to your point, that immediately tells me he's not proven and he can't be trusted. But, in the real world, it's all about your actions, right? And what you hide and what you don't. I always talk about IKEA as an example. Like, IKEA is the #1 furniture retailer in the world for 8 straight years. You go there, they don't hide the fact that there's not going to be any salespeople there to help you out. You're going to write down the code. You're going to go to the warehouse. You're going to throw it on a cart that doesn't have brakes, jam it into your car Tetris style, get home with a couple of injuries. And when you open the box, there's 100 parts that don't have any words next to them. You're going to swear your way through it. And then as soon as you're done, you're going to say, you know what, I've got some great modern Scandinavian design furniture that I didn't pay a lot for. Let's go get some end tables. So it's all in the actions. It's all in the way. Again, there is no company that is all things to all people. And all this idea is embrace it. And it's not just because it feels good. There's data and there's science to back it up. So it's with the proliferation of reviews on everything that we do, there is no hiding it anymore.
So should I go to Amazon and just give you a 1-star review?
That's the ironic thing. Right now, it's like a 4.82. And the other funny thing about it is my nephew gave me a 4.
What?
Yes.
That dude is out of the will.
Yeah, because of this whole idea. He's like, hey, 5s aren't believable, so I'm giving you a 4. I'm like, I can't even get a 5 from my own nephew.
Tell him when he's snowed in, wants to get dug out, your phone's broken, right?
Exactly. That's right. That'll make me a 2.
I know things are. I didn't realize people were this shady, but I guess they'll like hire one another or others like to go leave bad reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, what's the world coming to, man? How can you even know?
Well, I think the item, when you talk about that guy that you gave the 4-star to and a whole host of 5, when you do that, you lend credibility to the whole set. So it's easy to see through. Essentially, in today's world, 95% of us are looking at reviews before we make a purchase. But the interesting thing is 82% are specifically seeking out the negatives. And what we're doing when we read those we'd say, does this really apply to me? Do I believe it? Like when I'm picking a restaurant, if the service was terrible and a crazy day and I read that, I'm like, well, I bet you the service is better now. So it lends credibility to the whole group to have negative reviews. But again, in this B2B world, I mean, now people are leaving reviews on everything. It's a Glassdoor, for example. I bet you every one of your listeners, especially if they're in leadership, they're recruiting. And now there's sites like Glassdoor that have $1 billion valuation where employees and former employees are talking about the culture and what it's like. So if you're a recruit, that's where you're going. And if you're an HR professional and you're hiring, or any kind of a leader, you better know what's out there and be ready to lead with it in your conversations with these recruits, because they're going to find out on your own, and you better be able to address it. It's just where the world is going.
Dude, there are some brutal reviews on Glassdoor.
Yeah. Yeah. And the companies that aren't aware of those and act like those either don't matter or they don't exist, they're going to have a hard time recruiting we're in an era where the skilled labor force is the least available it's been since the Vietnam War, essentially. You better work on that.
Yeah. And what you're talking about, like the negative, quite often I'll sort by low to high.
Yep.
Because you're right. You're looking at a car, right? And like, oh, not enough cup holders. Like, well, I got 7 kids. That's a problem.
Exactly.
It's like, oh yeah, I tried, climbing a snow-packed mountain, with a 40-degree incline while towing, a 40,000-pound trailer. Like, yeah, I don't give a crap. That's not me.
Exactly.
Because some people they're just batshit crazy. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So you kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's cool. So how are you helping companies apply this, right? Like, are you going to big companies? Are you going to small companies? And how can like an individual producer use this?
Yeah, I'm actually right now helping just about everybody, because I think this concept is resonating. I'm actually speaking to LinkedIn's leadership team this week. And last week, I did a class for a group of Chicago-based entrepreneurs. And on the entrepreneur side, the super interesting thing about it is, imagine you're an entrepreneur and you've got a tech product. So you're an engineer, that's your skill, that's what you're really good at. You develop a product and then you're like, oh crap, I now need to go sell this. Time for me to put on my plaid coat, put on some gold chains, and become somebody I'm not. And the whole point for them is, hey, being you is actually more effective than that. You don't need to be somebody that you're not. And trying to teach them those ideas and how you not only prospect, but how you position. There's applications to the way that we present. And then there's this whole idea of transparent negotiating, where, historically we've taught salespeople to treat negotiations like you're in a Texas Hold'em tournament, where you hide your tells, start at opposite ends. There's one winner and one loser. And hopefully you come in the middle by hiding everything. And I just believe in this new era that playing your cards face up in a negotiation, again, it builds trust right through the close, and you end up getting more in return. You're no longer a charity in the way that you discount. So there's applications to transparency. It's not just about how you position. Every single thing you do, even in client success, post-sale, like, transparency can't stop.
Right. So let's talk about that negotiation, though. I mean, because that's interesting. I'm going to go off the assumption that this is a complex sale that warrants a proposal, an actual more detailed negotiation, more than like a car sale, right? Walk on the lot, fight for 4 hours, buy a car. But even that, I guess it could apply. But
yep.
I mean, what I tell people, ideally, like when I'm giving a proposal, it's really just a written summary of what we've already agreed to.
Exactly. Yeah.
So shouldn't be a lot of haggling there. It should be very straightforward. But I mean, I guess you need to be ready and willing and able to walk away, right? Like if you show up and you're honest and the company's like, hey, we got a sucker for a salesperson here. We're going to beat them up and get a bigger discount. I mean, does it really work that easily?
Well, it's all foundational. So imagine you're selling a technology product that you subscribe to. The whole point of it is, when you first talk about price, you talk about how your solution's priced, but then you say, hey, listen, our pricing is based on 4 things, and they're called the 4 levers. It's how much volume you commit to, so volume, how fast you pay, so timing of cash, how long you commit, so length of commitment, and when you sign. Those are our 4 levers, and those are the things that we're willing to pay you for in the form of a discount. When you lay the proposal out, you do it again. You say, hey, your volume band is giving you this discount. And again, this is based on paying up front annually and a 2-year commitment, and it's contingent on a signature by the end of April. When negotiation comes, it becomes really easy when they say, hey, Todd, listen, for us to hit our budgets, we've got to get this down 20%. You could either go down the path of going, hey, we're a charity, here's 20%, or I can give you 10 and you fight back and forth. Or you can say, here's 4 ways to get there. Again, you can commit to more volume. You could pay us faster. So that 2-year commitment, pay us for both years up front. We'll give you 5% for that. We'll pay you in the form of a discount. Commit to an extra couple of years. We can give you 10% there, and maybe accelerate the close, because there's value in that to me in my ability to forecast our business. And I'm willing to pay you for that in the form of a discount. It becomes structural so that they know that every single dollar that you're giving them in the form of a discount, you're getting some value for. And when you laid that from the beginning, it's transparent. It's playing your cards face up in a Texas Hold'em tournament. And you'd be shocked at the kind of value that you end up with at the end of those negotiations.
Yeah. I like those 4. Where did those come from? Did you make those up?
Essentially. I mean, if you think about how comp plans are, comp plans are based on how much you sell, getting cash fast, getting long-term commitments, and then being able to predict your business in a quota base. So they start there. Those are based on what a company cares about. So it becomes really simple to, winnow those down to, here's the 4 things that we matter. And when you think about going and buying a car, you can figure out what the seller's levers are pretty quickly. And me as a buyer, hey, my 4 levers are, I don't want to let go of my cash very quickly. I want to commit to as very little as possible. So extended warranties, I'm terrified of. And then the seller, of course, is trying to get as much of a car as possible with as many options and the biggest warranty they can get on top of it. They want you to pay fast unless they're getting some kind of a kick for having it financed, and get your commitment to getting the car serviced or getting a longer warranty. I mean, the levers really apply to just about anything you sell and anything that you buy. So I think they can be applied in the consumer sense too.
So how does the B2B salesperson making outbound calls leverage transparency? Because the recipient of that call is like, oh, great, another sales call.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Todd, really? I'm different. If I can just get a moment of your time, you'll see why we're different. How do I make myself believable in the short term?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a lot in the transparency realm around that. But there is a lot in the decision science. So, neuroscientists have, in the last 10 years, have found out more about how our brain makes decisions than they had in the 1,000 years before that. And, first of all, just kind of a side note, when I think about using the phone for prospecting, I just know that I don't even want to order takeout from a place that doesn't allow me to order online anymore. I mean, we're getting to a world where we don't want to talk to anybody at all. And I know as an executive, as a CRO in my last role, I am not going to drive my day via interruptions. Like, I want to help. I love salespeople. It's my passion career, clearly. But I'm not going to let interruptions guide my day. So I believe it's about building relationships in email, keeping your emails short, personalized, and valuable, and not sell in emails at all. So it's about, as a CRO, I had one company that was emailing me once a week with something I could use. There was no pitch. It was 2 sentences. One week it was, hey, Todd, you're hiring sales development reps in Chicago. Here's a salary survey, a study that we saw that talks about how much those SDRs are making in the Chicago area. The next week it was, hey, as a CRO, you just finished a quarter. You could probably use this cool board template that we created that might be helpful for you to just speed up some time. And it had nothing to do with what they were selling. But after a couple of these emails, I was like, who are these guys? This is like, they know me. They're adding value. I want to help them. And I think over time, our inboxes, as we are moving to executive roles, we get more and more emails. It's all white noise. The way to stand out is personalized, valuable emails. And then the other piece of that is, now our inboxes, it's no longer about the subject line. It also is about the first 10 words. I I keep hearing people talk about optimizing subject lines in your emails, but I can't think of any email inbox that I have, my phone, Gmail, Outlook, that doesn't show a preview of the first 10 words.
Sure.
And when it starts with I or we, stop wee-weeing all over my inbox. Like that's going to get an immediate delete. You've got to be able to prove that you can provide personalized value in those first 10 words or they're getting deleted. And again, I think that the phone is a support mechanism. I don't think it's dead, but man, it's hurting.
Man, you should have heard who I just had on right before you. That's going to be a little battle royale. You know? But yeah, you're right. I love the, it's kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook, give. And look, there's value in both, right? In B2B, I still believe that you can work the phone and make sales. I think in some B2B, it might be the only way. Certainly it's a short-term fix. It's not obviously not scalable, but I could work the phone today and make a sale, whereas it may take me a week or a month to build a landing page, get my shopping cart set up, build a 10-part email sequence, get my pixels in place, create all the profiles, get APIs turned on, reporting, interconnected analytics. Oh, good grief. It just hurts my head.
Yeah.
But I can call, flap my gums, and maybe make a sale. But
I was working with an entrepreneur here in Chicago on his emailing. His email open rate was like 3%, and it was all I and we. And they're in the corporate social giving space. So they help e-commerce companies figure out how to do a better job of that. And they've got so much data. So we just changed their email sequence to be about, hey, you're going after the people that care about it. Give them data. Give them stuff that they can look smart in their next meeting.
Yeah.
And so they did this sequence. Their open rate went up to over 30%. And then when they called, these people were receptive to their calls.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it all plays together. Like I said, calling's not dead. I think cold calling, I just think that's a zero-sum game, and it's only getting worse. I mean, I saw a study that said that it takes 18 cold outreaches on average to get a hold of somebody. But if you can warm them up by showing that you're building trust with them and you're personalized and you're valuable and you care about them, when the calls happen, your ratios are certainly going to go higher. And again, I don't think delivering personalized value is ever going to go out of style.
For sure. And I think too, like I had Jeffrey Gitomer on not too long ago, and we both agree I don't think there's any more cold calling. Not if you have a brain, right? I mean, I can spend 3 minutes and look you up, find something about you that I can reference in my message, reference once I get you, reference in a follow-on email. So it's not, totally cold. I think Jeffrey called it gold calling.
Mm-hmm.
Calling to make gold.
Yeah.
Right? But everybody's afraid of it. But I think deep down, I've always said, great marketing makes selling easy, but great selling makes great marketing possible.
Wow, that's deep. I like it.
Good for old redneck, huh? Because deep down, our marketing is a sale. I'm trying to convince you to slow your scroll.
Yep.
Right? Click on my message. Watch my video. Click to learn more. Take my assessment. Mm-hmm. Download my free white paper. Those are sales.
Yeah. Yeah. You think about LinkedIn today. Just consider what kind of posts that we engage with. We post on the ones that are short and valuable, and the ones that are clearly a pitch, we just zoom on by. And if you don't think that's happening in email, I think you're mistaken. But again, and I don't claim that every executive was like me, that I don't answer the phone anymore. Especially a guy, I literally 20 years ago, I had a sales training company that taught people how to do cold calling. So if there was ever an advocate for it, but I literally got to the point where I never answered my phone. Like my assistant used to laugh at how often my voicemail would get full, and she would have to go in and clear them out for me. And it's just, I just think we're going into this era where we want to control more and more. We want to control our schedules. I'm assuming that the people that are doing prospecting are trying to get to these high levels, and we need to control our calendars and are less willing to talk to people at a random basis anymore.
Oh, for sure. I don't. About once a week, I'll answer my phone.
Yep.
If I'm not expecting that call.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah.
and they're usually terrible, and they usually freak out too when they realize what I do. All right. And I love it. Oh, you're in sales training. Well, how am I doing? I'm like, oh,
here we go. Yeah. Well, it's funny that they don't know what you do before they call too, which, continues to be, when I was with Exact Target, we got acquired by Salesforce. So largest CRM company in the world. So I'm a Salesforce executive, and I got somebody cold calling me for CRM software. And I'm like, didn't you at least look at the title of my company? Like, that still happens. And it's just, if you're going to cold call, at least make the effort.
Yeah. Well, hey, they probably realized though that if you were being honest, Salesforce sucks for most small businesses, and they knew you were going to go out on your own and you'd have to get another CRM.
That's true. That's true.
They were reading the tea leaves, man. They were reading your digital palm. They knew where
That's right. I don't think it worked though. I don't remember who it was.
I know it's crazy, but I mean, I do love the concept. And nowadays it's like, there is no delete button on the internet. Right. So
right.
Just lay it out there. It's going to be all right. Even the absolute worst things, they still blow over regardless,
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think, your point about sales and marketing, one of the things is, I think the last stat I saw is that millennials make up about 50% of today's workforce. And one of the things when I go out and speak or teach on this idea of leading with your flaws, it's not about going into a room of buyers and saying, hey, this is why we suck. It's this whole idea, and it's funny that Tyra Banks, of all people, coined the term flawsome, but it's this idea that you're awesome, but you need to embrace your flaws and sell as though you're a 4.2 to a 4.5 instead of selling as though you're a 5. And that's where marketing needs to be able to help. Right. So marketing pulls together this information, understands what buyers are going to find when they look on their own, and helps salespeople craft those messages so they're disarming, they're leading with that imperfection. And when they're ready to explain why they're valuable and why they're a good match for that potential customer, that message is going to resonate, 10x over if you led with it and they're in resistance mode of, oh, salesperson going to tell me why they're so perfect. So
it's like the candidate, the interviewer asked the candidate, what's one of your weaknesses? It says, I'm too honest. I don't think that could really be a weakness. I don't give a crap what you think. Oops.
Well, yeah, I actually write about that in the book. Some examples of how people share their weaknesses. It's like one of my weaknesses is that I have no weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like in that case, I could, like with Infusionsoft, if I'm selling Infusionsoft and I'm at a targeted business, which is a small business, I could lead with, hey, look, this is not an enterprise level software. This is not even a medium-sized business. This is built for small business. So I'm admitting the weakness, but I'm standing in a small business that is not making plans to become an enterprise play. So, and there's the skill and there's the art.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, there's some, there was at Power Reviews, we had a new solution that came out. It's called sampling, which is essentially, if you got a new product coming out, you send it out to 100 people, and in exchange, all they have to do is write a review so that when you launch the product, the pros and cons, but there's reviews. So we had this new sampling idea, this offering, and one of our first customers had trampolines. So they're like, trampolines, of course. So we found 100 people that wanted these. We sent them to these 100 people, and we started getting the reviews in, and the reviews were, hey, this is a backyard trampoline. I live in an apartment. And so, that was something that we ended up embracing when we were positioning with our customers. Our sampling offering is, hey, listen, the first time we tried this, man, did we screw up. We were sending backyard trampolines to people in apartments. And as a result, what we've done is we do an incredible vetting job now where we make sure that people are in the right space for this type of thing. And you know, what it does is when you embrace errors that have happened and mistakes, when those come up, it's like, oh, you know what? Todd, the salesperson, told me that already. So it's so disarming that it's not just about who you're great for and who you're not, but it's embracing errors you've made, things that are going to be out there on the internet that they're going to find anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest part of a movie is the outtakes, right? We all stick around past the credits to see what they come up with, right?
Yeah, it's incredibly disarming.
Yeah, very cool. All right, man. So where do we send people, huh? I've got transparencysale.com.
Yep.
Is that the best place? Learn more about you. I see you've got your speaking and workshops, your blog, the book, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's the site. I also, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just tell me where you found me. The blind LinkedIn requests are kind of hard to accept all of them. But I do post little videos and little tips. I try to keep it relevant so you can connect with me there. But yeah, transparencysale.com or toddcaponi.com is the best place to find me.
Yep, very cool. And we will link to that. I'll link to your LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. Very
nice. Well, congratulations on the book, The Transparency Sale, even with its typos, man.
That's right. And it's got, and even if the book stinks, which it doesn't, given the 4.8 reviews, it has an acetate clear cover on it. So it really will look fantastic on your bookshelves. So it's a cool book. My publisher did an incredible job with the design.
That's right. You will look smarter having this book on your shelf.
That's right.
So, I mean, what the heck? It's hard to go wrong with that. All right, man. Todd Caponi all the way from Chicago. Thanks for coming to the Sales Podcast, man. It's been great.
All right, Wes. Great meeting you. Thank you for having me on.
Some things in life just can't be explained, but we do know that a confused mind says no. And in the book, Predictably Irrational, it was brought up that if you give people too many choices, they'll make a stupid, irrational choice. And the same thing going back with how we opened up with, when consumers are more likely to buy a product rated between 4.2 to 4.5 than a 5.0. We just don't believe it. We don't believe anything is perfect. And so it's crazy, right? But that's the way the mind works. And, what works is really all that matters. I talk with people all the time. People help me with my website or designing something, and they'll ask if I have a preference. And I'm like, man, you can make this thing, you can make my website in hot pink with polka dots and have it playing, Air Supply at level 10 if that works, if that's what people are looking for. So you need to have no sacred cows. You need to just do what works, okay? And understanding how the mind works, even if you don't work that way, you need to understand that you are not your client. Give them what they want. Go where the fish are biting. Yes, maybe they should be under this log at this time of day, blah, blah, blah. But if they're not there, they're not there. Go where the fish are and give them the bait that they want. Same thing with your customers, all right? Quit pushing a rope. Just because you want to sell something doesn't mean the market wants that. So a lot of insight here. I love, getting into this transparency. I love talking about, you see people, they are oversharing. Good grief, people overshare. Don't be one of them, okay? I like to know about you, but man, I don't need to see everything. So a lot of good info in there. Be sure and visit the website. Look up his episode, Todd Caponi. He's number 366. I've got links to his books. I have links to every book of every guest. Okay, so if they're a guest, we link to them through Amazon. It's an affiliate link. They pay me a couple of nickels, but after 366 episodes, those nickels start to add up. So please, you can humor me that way and help provide a little income for the 3 kids in college, 4 coming up. And my dog, she likes to eat. My wife and I, we like to eat, So those kind of things, they help. Like I said before, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. But that helps with the numbers. I'm working with a sponsor right now. We are in talks. So it looks like the first sponsor is coming on. That'll be good. I'll let you know about that as it unfolds. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you need sales, marketing, business consulting, I've not talked about it a lot on the episodes, but it is something I offer. I've done it for years. I don't talk about it a lot because I only can take a few at a time. And because I give my clients unlimited access to me, right? You get my cell phone number, you can text, you can call. If I'm not in the middle of something, if I'm not on with another client, I take a call. There's also scheduled calls, of course. There's a lot of structure to this, but there's a lot of access as well. So that's why I don't take on as many. But if you're interested in that, hit me up, right? Visit the website, go to the Contact Us, and on the drop-down menu, just say you're interested in private coaching. It'll send you a link, and we'll talk. There's no pressure. I say no to more people than yes. It's just not always a fit. Like I mentioned, the 30-day sales growth is a good, super affordable platform if it's just sharpening the sword in sales, and then I'll be rolling out the Inner Circle. It's group coaching, a little bit of private coaching, but I'm going to limit that as well as far as the number of people. What I'm thinking right now, just doing the numbers on the whiteboard, is that'll be limited to just 100 people. So once 100 people are in, then there'll be a waiting list, okay? But because I want to help more people, I like making myself available and helping people in the moment. Because that's what happens. We get stuck. We're indecisive. We don't know what path to take, so we stand still. When you stand still, you get run over. I want to help you keep moving. Okay, of course, on the weekly calls, we're going to help address and move some big rocks. And you can work on those, okay? But just like golf, I can't hit the ball for you. And there's no sense in having a 12-hour lesson, right? You go see a golf pro, that lesson's usually an hour. And a good pro is going to work on one thing for that hour. Maybe it's your short game. Maybe it's your driver. Maybe it's hitting a 3-wood off the deck. Whatever. You're going to work on that. And then he's going to say, go practice this. Go play a couple of rounds. See how it works under pressure. And then come back. Okay? But imagine if that pro played around with you. And you're in this tough spot. You're like, I don't know what to do right here. And he was there to say, you know what? You're in between clubs. I get it. But here's the danger, do you tend to hit it short or long? Yeah, I tend to hit it short. Okay, here's what you're going to do. The danger is long, so it's okay to be short. If you make a mistake, you want to be short. And the green slopes this way or that way. So you know what? Go ahead. Hit your normal swing. You got plenty enough club. If you leave it short, you're fine. You can bump it up. Go for the pin. So just being right there at that moment to give 15 seconds of advice, you have the confidence to get after it because it's making a swing that you're not committed. It's signing up for a trade show when you're not committed. It's sending out an email you gave a half-ass effort towards and it fails because you weren't committed to it. I want to eliminate that for as many people as possible, but the realistic number that I can really support is probably 100. Because I can be online, and the reality is there's not that many pressing situations that come up every single day, right? So even if everybody had a question throughout the week, well, that's 20 a day. And when there's 100 people involved, others are going to be helping that can give good advice as well as me, But if 20 people ask the question, the reality is I've done this for so long. I can answer those questions quickly. It really wouldn't take me more than 5 minutes to answer that. And I do it already. I'll make a video if it's in depth and help people. So that'd be 100 minutes a day. It's less than 2 hours a day to help 100 people. So that's the concept. That's what I'm launching with the Inner Circle. So stay tuned if you need that kind of help, okay? But as always, thanks for listening. Please leave me a 5-star review on the Google, the iTunes, the Stitcher, the iHeartRadio, the Spotify. Every place you listen to this, I'd appreciate it. Helps get the word out, helps us all grow. And the crazy thing is, when you give a testimonial, you're more likely to ask for testimonials. And when you ask for testimonials, your business is going to grow. So lead by doing. Same thing like on LinkedIn, right? If you want more recommendation on LinkedIn, go give some. If you spent the next 20 minutes giving, 3, 4, 5 reviews, 6, it could be short even, 10 reviews, right? 2 minutes a piece. That's really cruising. But if you were to give, I bet if you go give 10 reviews, 10 recommendations on LinkedIn, I bet you get 2 back without even asking. Let me know. Go try that. Tell me you did it. I'll send you a gift, maybe my sales training flashcards or something. But let me know you did it. All right? As always, thanks for listening. Now go sell something.